Hello, everyone. I want to talk about a topic that many are not willing to confront and talk about, especially in the churches. It's something that they just leave up to the people to decide for themselves. And that can be understandable to an extent because people don't want to pry into other people's lives. But damage may be occurring, and a type of going against a person's will, and even that, a type of, even more than that, a violation, to cross the boundary lines of what is natural to the unnatural, to the forbidden. And that's why we want to talk about this topic here today. We're not going to use the word that many people know because of the guidelines. It may trip the guidelines into a response, and we don't want to go that route. But we're not going to use that word. We're going to use backdooring, okay? Backdooring, to replace that word. In Hebrews 13:4, the Bible states, "Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge." Now, people will look at this verse and they'll think, well, marriage is honorable unto God and the bed is undefiled. Therefore, I have free reign. I can do whatever I want in my relationship with my wife, with my spouse, as long as I'm, in a marriage and the bed is undefiled. Therefore, everything goes. Anything goes. In Genesis 13:13, the Bible states, "But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord." It doesn't stop there. Exceedingly. They were exceedingly wicked before the Lord. They went past the norm. Genesis 19:5, we know the story. God was about to rain down fire and brimstone upon the land because the sin of Sodom was exceedingly great before the Lord. The stench reached high heaven. It reached the nostrils of God, and he was about to destroy it. So the angels go to Lot in the form of men, and someone took notice. The men of the city took notice that they went into the abode, the dwelling place of Lot and his family. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, "Where are the men? Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them." That we may know them. You look up that Hebrew, it means to have a type of intimate encounter, or an intimate getting to know, an intimate relation with them. And even the other translations say have relations with them. Well, they didn't want to just talk and, discourse and, talk about the weather and politics, current events. No, the men of the city who were committing abominations, whose sin was exceedingly great, went past the norm and went into the forbidden zone, were wanting to have relations with the men that went into the house of Lot. And we know what that is. Backdooring. Backdooring. They wanted to backdoor the men that went into the house of Lot. It was a type of assault. And once again, if you're just coming into this teaching here today, we're substituting a type of word that starts with the S, ends with a Y, with backdooring. You put the pieces of the puzzle together, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you're of the younger audience here today, click off the video, come back when you're, of age, because we're talking about sensitive things here, mature things here that should be spoken about in an adult type of atmosphere. And that's what we're trying to do here today, because the question is out there, and not a lot of people want to talk about that, especially ministers in ministry. They don't want to talk about this. They shy away from it. Possibly because they're engaging in it and think it's permissible. because we're just going to go back here of this verse here. Nothing wrong with the verse. It doesn't mean that anything goes in the bed and it's undefiled. You can do whatever you want with your partner. No. It means that the normal sexual relations in a marriage relationship are permissible and okayed by God. So that which is natural in terms of sexual intimacy in a marriage relationship is acceptable before God, but that which is unnatural, that's what we're getting into by providing you with other scriptures. That which is unnatural, that which crosses the line of the natural to the unnatural, from acceptable to that which is forbidden, is a violation. And that's what we're talking about here today. So their sin was exceedingly great, and they say, bring these men out to us. We want to know them. We want to have sexual relations with them. So they wanted to know them in a very peculiar way. And we know the story there, that they were struck with blindness, and Lot and his family were allowed to escape their presence and flee the city before God rained down fire and brimstone. Leviticus 18:22, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. Now we use this a lot when we go to the pride parades and festivals and places like that to preach against that type of lifestyle from those type of people. However, this is talking, generally speaking, to all human beings. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination in terms of men are not to be having relations with other men as they have with a woman. It's an abomination. This isn't just picking on the colorful, the rainbow flag waving community. Yeah, it pertains to them as well, but it's for anyone reading this, anyone listening to this, anyone who's endeavoring to be a follower of God. You shall not lie with mankind as you do with womankind. How do you lie with womankind? Well, you lie with womankind in a sexually intimate way. Right here in the ESV, you shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It's a what? Exceedingly great sin. It is an abomination. Notice in Romans 1:26, we're familiar with this verse, but we need to read it again for those who are not familiar with it. For this cause God gave them up unto their vile affections. You see, we see a harmony here. Exceedingly great sin, abomination, vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. So it's not just male lying with male as male lies with a woman that is rebuked by God, but even also their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. Okay, so how does that take place? Well, the things that were designated for a man and a woman in a relationship of marriage are attempting to be done with the same sex. Not only with males, but with females as well. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman. See, there it is, natural. We're talking about unnatural intimate relations. And what we're calling it backdooring. Is backdooring permissible in a marriage relationship? Leaving the natural use of the woman, the men, they burned in their lust. Burned in their lust. Men with men. Working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. Go to the Berean here to contemporize it a little. Working out shame and receiving in themselves the recompense which was fitting of their error. The Berean Standard. Consumed in passion for one another, men committing shameless acts with men and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their error. The due penalty. Yeah, it's a worthy penalty because of their actions before God. The exceedingly great sin, that which is natural, unnatural, and that which is an abomination. Ezekiel 16:49. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. So people use this in the colorful flag community, and they try to say, well, we don't see anything about same-sex relations there. Okay, go to the next verse. Verse 50. And they were haughty and committed what? Abominations before me. They were haughty. What is another word for haughtiness? Pride. What do they call their festivals? Pride festivals. They were haughty people and committed abominations. There you have it, the definition of the modern day pride parade. They were haughty and committed abominations before me. Therefore I removed them, as you have seen. So it wasn't just they were idle and they were full of bread, and they did not show any mercy to the poor. No, they committed abominations. They did that which is unnatural, unseemly. They were exceedingly great in their sin. They wanted to know the same sex. 1 Timothy 1:9. Knowing this, that the law is not made for the righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and the sinners, and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers. Notice this, verse 10, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind. And we read that in Leviticus. Same-sex relations. For men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. So we see it there in 1 Timothy 1:10. Jude 1:7. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication. What is that? That's sexual immorality. And going after strange flesh, unnatural orifices and parts of the body, and set forth as an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. So we see it there, and in Judges 19, as we are about to close, there was a sojourner, a Levite, who was sojourning through the mountains of Ephraim, and you can read the story for yourself in Judges 19. It's a similar situation that happened in the time of Lot, when the angels were being harassed and pursued by the men of Sodom. Same thing, type of thing occurs here in the Old Testament upon this sojourner, this Levite. Notice here, he's welcomed in by a man of the city. He says, come hang out tonight. We're going to have dinner, and you don't have to wander around. I know you have a place to go to. I'm paraphrasing. And I'm going to take care of you for the night and whatnot, and you'll sleep well here, and let's have dinner. Okay, he accepts his invitation. He goes to the man's house. Now, as they were making their hearts merry, okay, they were having dinner. Okay, the Levite, the sojourner, his concubine, and the man of the city who welcomed him to his house. Behold, the men of the city, similar to what we read in the case of Lot, the men of the city, the people that were locals there, roaming around in the city, who knew who came, who entered, who left. Idle people, busybodies, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about. So they have this house cornered. They have it circled. They encompass this house. No one's leaving. And beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man. Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may what? we may know him. Just like we read in the story of Lot. They were surrounding the house. They're at the door. We know they're in there, Lot. We saw them go in there. Bring them out to us. We want to know them. And we know what that means. That's another word for having sexual relations. We want to backdoor them. And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them and said unto them, Nay, my brethren, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly. Seeing that this man is come into my house, do not this folly. Do not this folly. Do not this folly. Backdooring is wicked. Backdooring is folly. Backdooring is unnatural. Sexual victimization reported by adult correction authorities. Correctional administrators reported 36,264 allegations of sexual victimization in 2020. This is in the prison system. A 5% decrease from 2019, of course, because of the worldwide plague that was taking place, so-called, right? But it was still occurring in the systems of the prisons. You know, this is a type of victimization that occurs in the prison system, a type of victimization. And now we want to take that same sort of victimization that's practiced in the prison systems, and we want to take it to the bed of marriage. That's not where it belongs. It belongs in the pits of hell. That area of the body is for exit. The drought, as Jesus said. Waste. It's not an entry point. It's not natural. It's forbidden. So the answer is backdooring okay in a marriage relationship? And I would say with an emphatic no. An honorable marriage is between a man and a woman. The bed is undefiled, so as long as there's natural intimacy that's taking place and not unnatural intimacy, as we have just seen through the plenty of scriptures that I presented to you. So I know some have asked this question, and I hope that this teaching has answered it. Until next time.